So Nerve is a 2016 Netflix original directed by both Ariel Schulman and Henry Joost. These are the same directors of one of the Paranormal Activity movies and multiple other Netflix originals. We also have Emma Roberts and Dave Franco who play the two mains in this film, while multiple other celebrities also have a role. So let's get right into the plot. So we start off with V, who's played by Emma Roberts, who I mentioned earlier, and she's a graduating high school student in Staten Island. She has a pretty close relationship with her mother, which is great, but it gets in the way of a pretty big high school decision. So recently, her brother passed away, which means that her and her mother are the only two who are there for each other. This complicates her decision of choosing a college since she wants to leave Staten Island, but because of her grieving mother, she doesn't want to leave her alone. So let's talk about V as a character. We find out early on that she's pretty shy and a conservative person. She never wants to be in the spotlight and keeps to herself for the most part. You know, the most typical Netflix movie stereotype. And like in every other movie, she has a very popular best friend. This best friend is Sydney, and she keeps on pushing her to do more extravagant things. So one day, she calls out V for being so shy and convinces V to sign up for this app called Nerve. Then we have this pretty long explanation, but I'll just shorten it down for you guys. So Nerve is basically a crazier version of Dare and, well, Dare. Each user can choose to be either a player or a watcher, which is pretty straightforward. We then see people try to do crazy things such as steal motorcycles or vandalize buildings to earn more points. These points will be added up by the end of the day, and whoever has the highest gets a pretty big reward. So anyways, let's fast forward to V's first dare. This happens at a diner, and she is dared to kiss a random guy there. So apparently in this app, they choose pretty small dares and slowly build them up to be more extravagant later on. Also, I forgot to mention that each dare has a time limit, and if you don't do it before it runs out, you automatically fail. So right before the time runs out, V chooses the first guy she sees, and that turns out to be Ian. So it turns out that Ian, played by Dave Franco, is another player, and the system tried to get them together. So after a bit of talking and getting to know each other, the two are then given a dare to work together. So Ian is there to bring V to a store, while V is there to try on clothes from that said store. So the two end up completing this, but another player is there to steal all their clothes, which means that the two of them have to run out of the store, and that's the content. Luckily for them though, the system has now given them their first reward. That being the expensive clothes they tried on. Woo, amazing. Almost immediately though, they are now given another dare. V is there to get a tattoo chosen by Ian, and afterwards the two have to ride through the city with Ian blindfolded while riding at 60 miles per hour. As we can tell, the dares are now getting more and more dangerous. But luckily for them, more views are coming in and that's raising their points. So after nearly surviving that dare, the two have now become the top players on Nerve. But this causes some issues with V's relationships. The movie then cuts to Sydney, who we see partying with her friends until one of them tells her about V's success. This gets her extremely jealous, which ooh, drama. But as this happens, Nerve sends her another dare. This asks her to walk across two tall buildings using just a ladder. Fueled by her jealousy, Sydney accepts almost immediately. Midway through the dare though, she bails, which embarrasses her in front of everyone including V. So since she's now enraged at V, she gets back at her by trying to kiss her crush. Now that V is upset as well, she tries to one-up Sydney by doing her dare. She ends up completing it and gets $15,000. Once she gets to the other side though, she realizes how dangerous this game really is. She gets upset and runs to the police to tell them and report the game. But of course, they don't believe her. This breaks one of the biggest rules of Nerve though, since no adult is supposed to know about the game. And since snitches get stitches in this world, she gets knocked out by Ty, who's played by Machine Gun Kelly. Right before she gets knocked out though, she learns from her mother that all of their money is now gone. The hackers have hacked into her bank accounts and stolen everything. V then wakes up inside of a shipping container, but finds a way out. She runs into Ian, who then explains everything to her. So turns out, Ian and Ty used to be the biggest players in Seattle. They used to play with a third person, but that person died because of one of the biggest dares that they had. Because of this, Ian and Ty end up going to the police like V did. But as their punishment, they had their identities stripped away. Ian then explains to V that the three of them, which is Ian, Ty, and V, now have to reach the finale to get all the things that they lost back. After all of this though, they then try to come up with a big plan to free all of them. V contacts one of her biggest friends, Tommy, and his hacker friends. We then see the hacker friends and Sydney try to break the game, while Ian and V try to reach the finale, which they end up doing. V and Ian then earn their final dares, which puts them in a big stadium. This dare is to shoot each other, and whoever wins is the person who shoots. Ian, of course, since he cares for V, tells her to shoot him, but V does not do it. Instead, Ty comes in and shoots V to end the game. Right as this happens though, the hacker friends are able to hack everyone in the stadium's phones and tell them that they're all accessories of murder. They are then told to log out or they'll be arrested, which forces everyone to delete the app and essentially ends the game. And right after this, V wakes up and tells Ian about the entire plan, which Ty was a part of. And yeah, we then basically have the typical happy ending where everyone is friends again, and V and Ian, who is really known as Sam, end up together, while V ends up choosing Cal Arts for her college course. And after listening to that plot, you can probably tell that this movie was very cookie cutter. There wasn't much depth seen throughout the movie, but it was a pretty fun time. The performances weren't horrible, and the story gets quite thrilling. This is what we expect from Netflix though, so I can't say that I'm disappointed, but I'm also not surprised. So would I recommend the movie? Yeah, sure, if you know what you're getting into. This movie isn't memorable at all, but no one really expects it to be. And also it does talk about how far technology could go and how far it could take our society, whether for good or for bad. And if after reading the plot you're intrigued, then yeah, go watch it. It is a fun time, but that's all it is really. And with that, my review is over. So thank you for watching.